Hello viewers, my name is Jennifer and I'm a counseling psychologist, but praise God, I am a Christian fellowshipping in Thindigua PCEA church, and I've said earlier, I am a counseling psychologist. Now today I'm going to talk about a very heavy topic, which is on trauma and the mistakes that we make in life. And I've realized that we make these mistakes because you find that when we have trauma in our life, making decisions about things or the tasks that we're supposed to do later in life, it becomes a bit difficult. Sometimes we find ourselves even getting stuck and wondering, what are we supposed to do? Again, we block because maybe out of the trauma, if there was any pain, it blocks us from making the right decisions. So we find ourselves not going through all the tasks that we are supposed to be doing in every developmental stage. Now, first I'm going to explain what is trauma. And trauma is an emotion. It's a feeling that someone gets at one time in life. And mostly, it comes mostly when you are an adult, where we have bigger tasks to do and decisions to make that are very concrete. Maybe in being a parent, sometimes even having jobs, and even being that career person who you have a fear of, or even having spousal relationships. So trauma can affect us when we are adults. But where does it come from? This emotion that comes in us, and sometimes we feel like we are going to betray ourselves. In fact, it makes us betray ourselves because we want to survive. As we survive, as we bring ourselves out, you know, we want to fit in. We want to feel like we are doing the right thing. So in all that, we find ourselves maybe making mistakes. And I've said trauma is part of life. Why do I say that? It is because most of the times the trauma we have will come from maybe how we were parented, how we interacted with the environment as we grew up as children, or even the people we interacted with away from our parents. When you went to school, how you interacted with the society, how you interacted with a larger family, and even friends, and even the society. Who are those people who are in the society? What are those things they did to us that inflicted emotional pain? That is where we are saying trauma is part of life, because nobody is perfect. Nothing in this world is perfect. So even those challenges that people are going through when they were young, it was part of growth and part of life. Also, trauma is unavoidable because, as I've said, we interact with experiences since childhood. So we never avoid it, because you will find yourself getting to a place where, you know, you're being hurt by people and in the environment that you're living in, people who you believe that were very close to you, other times people you trusted. So we cannot avoid it. And we can also talk about how does it affect us. This feeling that we have that is coming from past experiences that were painful, that were nasty. It affects our physical. It also affects us emotionally and psychologically. It also affects the financial part. The spiritual part of us is also affected, social and even intellectual. You find that most of the times, I'm just cutting across very fast, that when people are affected by negative experiences in life and they get trauma, some of them might even get the physical disabilities. For example, sometimes when we talk about child abuse, and they were abused when they were young, and because they were very young and someone forced themselves into this child, they get physically maybe disformed. When we come to the emotional and psychological, this is about the emotions. This is about how we behave and how we bring out the emotions and the feelings that we have. You hear someone saying, I fear this. I fear men. I'm giving an example, because maybe this girl or this boy was raped or sodomized when they were young. So that one brought trauma to them financially. You know, when we are growing up, we were never given a chance to save. I remember as young children, if a visitor came home and gave us money, In fact, our mothers were waiting. Huyo mgeni akienda, when the visitor goes, the mother tells you, bring that money, and then she goes and buys something for the whole family. So you can now see everybody who had such an incident when they were experienced as they grew up, they tend to be, I think, I am not good enough to manage money. I am not good enough to even take care of it. Sometimes you find that even because we were never taught how to even save, even when you are adults, it becomes, in fact, it's very traumatizing that you're taking your child to Form 1, but because you have not been saving for the longest time, you don't even know. Nobody ever taught you how to save. Now, trauma comes in because now you find yourself getting so disappointed. You carry a lot of guilt because you're not able to take the child to the school. Spiritually, you'll always ask yourself, when I was going through all these painful experiences, where was God? Where was my church? Where was everyone? Because I seemed like I was I'm innate alone. So it gives people a space where they feel like there was nobody to take care of them spiritually, because we need to be spiritually nourished so that we can even heal from the trauma. Socially, the people who brought in the trauma, sometimes we don't want to interact with them when we are adults. We fear them. Or when we find ourselves today when we are adults, we cannot create healthy relationships because of where we are coming from. If someone was abused in any way, emotionally, physically, or in any way when they were young, they are always telling themselves, I cannot interact with this gender because that gender abused me in any way. Even when we have children whose parents are dead, when we have orphans, the people they were left to take care of them, if they did not give them the care that they needed, you find that those children are now, when they are adults, they have a problem with socializing. Intellectually, when you find that someone, when they were growing up, for example, when we went to school, and our teachers were giving us corporal punishment for failing, then maybe sometimes it's because we never understood what they were trying to explain to us. So someone gets fear of even trying or even daring to do the subjects that, if the teacher was very strict, if the teacher was very harsh, so they close themselves to some of these subjects. They are not open to learning. So we need to know that, as I said, trauma is unavoidable. It's part of life, and we find that it is affecting us holistically. Now, maybe we are also going to talk about the types of childhood traumas and experiences that can make you and lead you to find yourself, even as maybe as a teenager or even as an adult, to have the trauma. One, when we had parents who denied the reality. Sometimes even as we grew up, even as we are bringing up our children, as we are parenting, you find that parents who have a problem with addiction, for example, they never come out open to even explain to the children or even to explain to the world, because one, they're coming from a point of not knowing. Because even when people are addicted to anything, in fact, they always have a justification. And it is not only a justification verbally, even in their mind. They always have a story to tell why they are addicted to this and that. So you find that someone is saying, I take a lot of alcohol because it helps me sleep. But then they are not understanding that they are lacking sleep because of something else. So the lack of sleep is just a presenting problem. They need to know why they are lacking the sleep. Now, the alcohol and as they go on and become addicts, that one becomes just a coping skill, a coping mechanism for them, so that they can be able to sleep. Others will say, I started taking alcohol because of, when I lost my parents, both of them, I found myself just drinking. So you find that because they are not able to explain that out, and they are our parents, you find that that one is something that can make the children that they are bringing up to have the trauma. Others can be when we have special needs in our families. Maybe you have a child who has a special need. Maybe even our parents themselves, they have a special need. Maybe they are physically or mentally incapable of something. You find that they will never talk about it, but it is very traumatizing for the children. And what happens, remember, the society is watching and laboring. When long ago, thanks to development, that today there is no trauma that comes. It has gone down. The trauma of people being labored because they have special needs, and so you can imagine if someone is coming from such a family, and everybody in the society is pointing at them with that finger or that eye of, you people, you are not like us. The number two, another source of type of childhood trauma, is when a parent does not listen to the child or is not observative. What do I talk about? What do I mean when I talk about listening? When we are with our children, sometimes they are not able to describe what they are going through. But our eyes and ears can hear, can see. I can repeat that again. Our eyes and ears can see and hear. I mean, you can observe the child. You can see how they act. If they're acting differently, if they are withdrawing, or they are coming out crying and looking sad, it is important, because that is where the trauma will come from. Because if the child is sad, it means that there is something very unpleasant that has been done to them. If you find that this child is very angry, they were not angry there before, they have started biting other children, even around, they have started kicking the others, they have started just wanting to be alone somewhere. Your eyes and your ears should be listening and watching this. So we need to make sure that for it not to be a source of trauma for children, let the parents be very observative. And as we go on, we are going to see, I am going to talk about being a conscious, intentional parent. I'll explain. Number 3 as a source is parental modeling. We always say, like father, like son, like mother, like daughter. What do I mean? When a child is growing up, they really look up to their parent on how they deal with maybe issues, how they deal with emotions. So when we are sad, how do I see my parents react to sadness? When they are angry, how do they? So these children will learn from there. So when there is trauma in a parent's life and they have not been able to deal with it, even the children will also acquire that. Lack of communication in it is also a part of the modeling. How do I see my parents sit and discuss about something nasty that has happened to us or even to them? When we are body shamed and we come home and tell our parents how we were body shamed at school, I'm talking about the little ones, and a child comes, I remember one time a parent came to my office and told me that the child came home telling them that now he's not even being called a kapum-pum because he has chubby cheeks, they are calling him nguruwe or a pig. You can imagine, how did my parents react to that? That can be a source of trauma, because if they did not help this child to overcome the feelings that they had, so by the end of the day, the feeling now gets internalized into this child's life, and they become, they get traumatized. Number 4, a parent who is over-focusing on appearance and external evaluation. What do I mean? We have parents who are always looking at our children like, what is the world going to say? So we have to measure up to the social status as parents. So even our children. So out there, they're going to look like they are perfect couple. Their family is a perfect one. And remember, because behind the scenes at home, there are things that are happening. Maybe my parents fought and one of the parents has a red eye. So the following day, because they are going out there, maybe they are going for a wedding or they are going to church, this parent is going to wear sunglasses that are very dark. And everybody will be quiet about it. The child in that home is really traumatized. And they are going to be scared. So later, they are going to be like, I think I don't want even to have a family. I don't want to get a spouse in life. Because if that is the way it is, I think if marriage is like that, that even when I am hit, I cannot talk about it. I think I don't want even to try it. So you find that children are acquiring trauma
slowly by slowly from the home they are coming from, because their parents are minding so much about what the world is going to say. What is the world going to say about the things that are happening in my life? Maybe because my children are going to school, they are not scoring good grades. They are not going to good nice high schools. So they are also, because we need to, as parents, realize that our children are not capable like the other people's. In fact, they are individuals with their own capabilities, and we need to realize that we need to take them the way they are. The world does not matter. You are part of the world, fine. You socialize with the other people, but focus on your growth. You find that people tend to cope. We have some coping skills towards trauma. And those coping skills towards trauma, you find that now, because they are adults, they are teenagers, you find that they get to a place that, I think I'm going to do something so that I can hide the pain that can bring the trauma in me. So one, they become perfectionists. I will be doing things, polish them. That is, I'm not saying that that all the perfectionists they have trauma. No, because there are others who are coming from a certain personality temperament that has perfectionism. But this person, you can be able to see they really polish things. They really want to make sure that what they are doing is very perfect. They need to make sure that even the choices they make in life, they do it in a very perfect way. The other person will be nabbling. I don't want to see this. I deny, and I will not. And I will make sure that I reject anything that is coming near what that I feel that had brought trauma. Others are going to get disengaged, so that you find that they don't want to be a part of the family they came from. Remember at the beginning what we said, we cannot avoid trauma because it is part of life, and where it happens where we are being brought up and where things are being modeled. So they engage from that family, and I'm not part of this family. Others become people pleasers. Remember what we have said, that someone can be thinking of the external assessment, how the world is going to see them. So now they will be sacrificing and doing things for others to the length of being misused and being abused. And we find that others will get a lot of anger because I am not happy about what happened to me when I was young. Because of that, now that I have trauma, I don't know how to deal with it. So what I do is get very angry with the world around me, the people in it. Anytime I see someone who looks like the person who maybe did something unpleasant to me in my younger stages or in younger ages, you find that they do what? They're very angry. In fact, sometimes they get angry to people who have even no clue. Because I went to school and found a girl or a boy who looks like the person who abused me at one time, who body shamed me when I was a young girl. So what happens? They vent that anger out to that person who does not even know. Other people will detach. What do they detach from? Their emotions. They get to a place where they are acting like they are very neutral. Like they don't care. They care less about anything that is happening in their world and in other people's world. So you find they become very careless in everything that they do. And I think with that, we can come to the end of it. Thank you.